So, as you all know, last week the DNC received backlash for not only purging progressives, but appointing Donna Brazile, a cheater, to the Rules Committee of all places. And now, after getting so much pushback from progressives, Donna Brazile, along with other DNC operatives and apologists, are speaking out, and they are defending themselves. But can you guess how they're pushing back against progressives? They are claiming that we're racist because we're opposed to Donna Brazile. It's not because she's a cheater and lied about cheating. It's because of the color of her skin. Now, if you're not surprised by this tactic, then you're not alone, because this is the same smear tactic that they've used in the past to discredit progressives, and it is absolutely sickening. Because since they can't debate with us on the merit of our arguments, since we have legitimate reasons to be opposed to Donna Brazile, well, then they have to resort to smear tactics. Now, one example we saw is on Twitter from journalist Tom Watson, who notified his followers that there's a racist petition going around created by someone who is posing as a Bernie Sanders supporter, demanding that Perez replace Donna Brazile. He states, "Don't get sucked into a fake battle, folks. Donna is a great Democrat and is going nowhere, and the petition is a disgrace." Now, it's pretty evident that he said that this is only a petition that's being circulated by people posing as Bernie Sanders supporters, because if he says that they're only posing as a Bernie Sanders supporter, then he kind of gives himself cover. He gives himself plausible deniability, because what he's doing here is pretty clever in saying that this petition was created by a fake Bernie supporter. Then there's this underlying implication that, well, you know, a Bernie Sanders supporter, someone who's a real Bernie Sanders supporter, they would never circulate a petition who calls on a woman of color to resign from the DNC. Now, would they? Wink, wink. Why would they do that? Why would they want Donna Brazile, a celebrated Democrat, to not be on the DNC unless they're racist? So I don't even believe this is from a true Bernie supporter. Wink, wink, wink. I mean, that's really what's happening here. Now, he shows us exactly why this petition is racist by saying, quote, "Racism is disgusting. Will anyone in the so-called Sanders wing repudiate this hatred?" And the petition says, "We can find better black women to be on the committee." I'll repudiate that statement, because I think that you can criticize Donna Brazile without invoking her race. And to do that, you're just an idiot. So I unequivocally condemn the individual who made that statement. However, the problem is that that's not the petition. The actual petition that's being circulated was created by Paula Jean Swearingen, and it doesn't say that. It says, "Reject Donna Brazile for the Rules Committee for the National Democratic Party. Appointing Donna Brazile as a member of the DNC Rules Committee is unacceptable. Ms. Brazile forwarded debate questions to her preferred primary candidate, but DNC rules mandate neutrality in the primary. This appointment is counterproductive for fostering unity within the party. We therefore call on Chairman Tom Perez to rescind this appointment in favor of someone who will inspire confidence that the party is focused on finding common ground." So the reason cited for her to be removed was based purely on substantive reasons. There's no mention of her race there by Paula Jean Swearingen. This petition, there's no indication that it's racist in any way, shape, or form. But Tom Watson called the petition racist when it's not racist. And the example of the racist comment he provided isn't attached or representative of the actual petition, so he's either being intentionally disingenuous or he's an incredibly irresponsible journalist. And yes, that comment that he cited, wherever he found it, it's unacceptable. But if progressives are forced to come out and repudiate any and all racism against Donna Brazile, well then will Tom Watson here come out and repudiate the racist attacks against Nina Turner? What about the sexist attacks we see against progressive women like Katie Halper and Nimiki Konst? Are you going to repudiate those attacks, Tom? I'll wait. So Tom Watson here is being incredibly disingenuous, but he's not alone, because BuzzFeed also released an article that makes the same implication about progressives, titled "Drama Unfolds Between Democrats Over Rumor About Ousting 3 Black Women DNC Members." And it covers a rumor that aims to perpetuate the same myth that progressives are against women of color serving on the DNC. So they explain a rumor that pro-Bernie Sanders Democrats have proposed removing 3 prominent black women as at-large members of the Democratic Democratic National Committee set off a fury here at the party's fall meeting, lighting up tensions between anti-establishment progressives and Chairman Tom Perez as Democrats rushed late Thursday to find out where the rumor had come from and what motives drove it. The names circulating among Democrats were Leah Daughtry, former DNC convention chair, Mignon Moore, veteran Democratic strategist, and Simone Sanders, former national press secretary to Bernie Sanders. By Thursday evening, the rumor was Daughtry, Moore, and former DNC chair Donna Brazile. Two Democratic sources said Zogby and Jane Kleeb, another prominent Sanders supporter and the chair of the Nebraska Democratic Party, discussed plans to introduce an alternate slate of 75 at-large members. One of those Democrats said the alternate slate would be less diverse than the one put forward by Perez earlier this week. In a statement, DNC spokesperson Zadal Hinojosa told BuzzFeed News, "We are proud of the unprecedented diversity of this year's slate of at-large DNC members. We must come together in unity and embrace our diversity in order to win elections up and down the ballot," as if we don't embrace diversity. But the three women who were initially named here, we have Leah Daughtry, Mignon Moore, and Simone Sanders. First of all, Simone Sanders is on our side. She's a progressive, so it makes no sense that progressives would want her ousted. Second of all, Mignon Moore, she's a lobbyist, so I could understand that one, but I think most progressives don't even know who she is, and when it comes to Leah Daughtry, nobody knows anything about her. The only thing we know is that she's friends with Donna Brazile. So, I mean, this doesn't make any sense, but when it comes to the three women, Donna Brazile was initially omitted, and I think that this omission is actually pretty telling. Why? Well, I mean, it's really simple. If some random DNC insider leaks stories to the press about how progressives are against other women of color serving in the DNC, well, then this might actually lend credence to the implication that we're sexist if we don't support Donna Brazile. So they claim here that it's not just Donna Brazile. See, there's other black women who they don't support because they want to then be able to argue, well, you know, these progressives, they claim to be against Donna Brazile for substantive reasons, but for some conspicuous reason, they're also against other women of color serving in the DNC. Maybe it's the case that they just have a problem with women of color serving in powerful positions within the DNC. Maybe they just want all of their white males to be represented. That's what this is about. That's the underlying implication here. It's because they want to hide behind identity politics in order to smear progressives. Notice how the article only reported on the, quote, rumor that progressives wanted to oust other women of color from the DNC. I mean, there was no evidence to back up this claim. Now, it's not unreasonable for us to assume that the DNC is using this as a smear tactic because they've done this in the past on numerous occasions. In fact, in an email to John Podesta, the current DNC chairman, then Labor Secretary Tom Perez, demonstrates how to effectively use identity politics to smear Bernie Sanders and his supporters after they learned that Hillary didn't do too well with millennial voters, saying, when we do well there, meaning South Carolina, then the narrative changes from Bernie kicks ass among young voters to Bernie does well only among white liberals. That is a different story and a perfect lead into South Carolina, where once again we can work to attract young voters of color. And Tom Perez is not alone because during the campaign, Hillary Clinton also invoked identity politics and her gender specifically in order to evade legitimate criticism.
Senator Sanders is the only person who I think would characterize me, a woman running to be the first woman president, as exemplifying the establishment.
How convenient. Now, the actual subject of this video, Donna Brazile, she also uses identity politics to evade criticism because, as you'll all recall, last year when TYT's Jordan Sheridan asked her whether or not she should apologize to voters for leaking a debate question to Hillary Clinton, this is how she used identity politics to evade criticism.
But what about you passing a question to Hillary Clinton's campaign, the town hall before?
Trump badger women. You're welcome.
Yes, a journalist asking a question is badgering you.
Do you see the pattern here? Anytime you criticize them for substantive reasons, they invoke gender or race in order to evade criticism. That to me is just so weird. Imagine if anytime I was criticized, because I get criticized by Hillary Clinton supporters all the time, imagine if anytime they criticized me, I invoked sexuality. If I said, if you criticize me, well, it must be because you're homophobic, because I married a dude, so clearly you don't like me only because of my sexuality. I mean, imagine if I did that. People would think I'm a crazy person and they wouldn't take me seriously, but yet we have high-ranking officials within the Democratic Party using this idiotic tactic, which is incredibly disingenuous all the time, to evade criticism. Now, let's go back to what the DNC spokesperson said. We are proud of the unprecedented diversity of this year's slate of at-large DNC members. We must come together in unity and embrace our diversity in order to win elections up and down the ballot. So this suggests here that progressives don't actually care about diversity, because since we are allegedly against other women of color serving in positions at the DNC, well, we must just be against diversity altogether. Not true. Look at the lineup of Justice Democrats. They're more diverse than the DNC's lineup. So if we were against diversity, wouldn't you just see all of the Justice Democrats as straight white males? And see, the good thing about Justice Democrats is that they're actually progressives, which is what matters the most. Because simply just being more diverse than Republicans doesn't negate from the DNC's corporatism that actually harms the groups they claim to care so much about. And if diversity was the only factor that they were making in putting people into positions in the DNC, then why wouldn't you just put women of color who are Republicans on the DNC? Because if all you care about is diversity itself and policy has no bearing on your decision to appoint people, as you are claiming here, then why not just put Republicans and conservatives on the DNC? So their argument, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And obviously, we're not against Donna Brazile because of her race or her gender. That goes without saying. I shouldn't even have to say that, but I have to say it apparently because we are constantly smeared as racist and sexist. But we don't like Donna Brazile because she cheated during the primary. She gave Hillary Clinton an unfair advantage over Bernie Sanders. She sent out an email to Clinton's campaign and gave them a question in advance. She admitted to doing this, and then when she was initially confronted about this, she lied.
For the record, I have never been privileged as long as I've been not just a part of CNN, which let me just say how proud I am to have been a contributor for CNN and other news outlets. And no one has ever shared questions with any of us involved in CNN as...
I couldn't possibly have shared a question with Hillary Clinton's campaign in advance because at CNN, we just don't get questions in advance. Meanwhile, a couple months later here, she says in an op-ed for Time, sending those emails was a mistake I will forever regret. So she cheated and then initially lied about cheating. That's the reason why we don't like Donna Brazile. That's the reason why, of all people, she shouldn't serve on the Rules Committee, because clearly she breaks the rules. She doesn't know how to follow the rules. There's a reason why CNN fired her, and her colleagues, like Jake Tapper at CNN, said that they were horrified by her actions because it's incredibly unethical. The reason why they were asking Hillary Clinton a question about the death penalty was because they wanted to put her in a tough position and actually challenge her. But Donna Brazile knew that that was one of Hillary Clinton's weaknesses. So she leaked that question in advance to Hillary Clinton to make her look better because she likes Hillary Clinton. She was expecting a job from Hillary Clinton if she won the White House. That's what this is about. Donna Brazile cheated. That's why we are against her. Look, I couldn't care less about anyone else. There's a lot of really egregious people like Dan Halpern, who's an anti-minimum wage advocate, who are serving on the DNC. But of all people to be on the Rules Committee, Donna Brazile is not that person. We're against her because of her unethical past behavior, not because of her color. And you know that. But the DNC is still choosing to invoke identity politics because they have no other way to respond to our legitimate criticism of Donna Brazile. And it's just pathetic.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.